everyone, it's me, Katie, again here with a weekly reading. I also wanted to focus a little bit on the new moon that's going to be coming this cycle, and a little bit about the holidays. If you're in America, you'll be celebrating Thanksgiving, and so that can kind of bring some things obviously into our week too. So I guess if you guys are ready, I am ready, and let's begin. So the deck that we're going to be using today is the Guardian Tarot. It's by Beth Silonen, I believe it's pronounced. It's really pretty. It's filled with a bunch of pastel colors. It looks like all of the artwork is in watercolor. It's got a really nice like watercolor paper texture to it. And one of the interesting things is that each card has a guardian, and the guardians are actually tree people. And it says in the guidebook here, by bringing the two entities together, trees and humans, the Guardian Tarot works to unite and foster awareness to the importance between nature and ourselves, promoting our own personal growth and journey. It's really cool, really pretty, and as usual, if you're interested in working with this deck, it is available at our store, which I will link down below. So for what to release from this cycle, we have the Empress card, for what to welcome into the cycle, we have the High Priestess, for what to focus on, we have the Five of Wands, and it looks like it's reversed. And for an advice card, we have the Ten of Wands. Okay, so I really like this reading, actually. I think it's pretty, thankfully, lighthearted. We had a really heavy one last week. This one's pretty straightforward and to the point. So for the new moon reading, I wanted to do what we release from the cycle, what we should welcome into the cycle, what we should focus on, and then an advice card, or kind of how we can stay focused, or how we can stay, you know, in the right place with these cards. So the first card we pulled was the Empress, and I think that one is talking mostly about our last reading. We put the work in, right? We did the planning, and it's time to release all of that and kind of walk away from the drawing board and let it go. You know, we don't need to sit and rehash this anymore. I think we all kind of have a solid idea of, you know, our own truth and what we want to see in our future. And the Empress card, motherhood, nurturing, and it is future. You know, it's, you know, when you're a mom and you're kind of cultivating an idea, and you're cultivating sort of a anything, you know, usually motherhood is, you know, cultivating a child, and you're raising that child, and you're raising that child with their future in mind. So all of the lessons that you teach them and all of the effort that you put in, it's really just to ensure that they have, you know, a successful or a good or positive future. And so it's letting us know that we are allowed to walk away from that desk. You know, we don't have to sit and rehash it anymore. If there's nothing else for us to learn, you know, it's really something that sometimes we forget it, but we never lose it. So I would say that's what the Empress card's telling us. And then switching from the Empress right to the High Priestess, I think is really interesting. The High Priestess is almost always a representation of your highest spiritual self. So, you know, she's telling us to have faith in what we learned about ourselves and what we decided we wanted to put the focus and work into, and just let it be. You know, not to worry about the people around us, not to worry about other people's opinions, or, you know, obviously we want to be considerate of the people around us, so not to not care about people, but don't worry about the people around you, and welcome the sensation of living your truth. The rest of it is going to fall into place, you know, regardless of the people around you or what's going on or your job or whatever. You know, the people who truly value you, and if you're truly valuing yourself, it's gonna work out well for you. And so that is the energy that we should be inviting into this cycle. We're gone from the drawing board, and now we're here and we're living it. And that's kind of the change of the moon cycle and the change of the season and everything. So that is what these two cards are telling us. With the Five of Wands, that card is supposed to represent what we should be letting go. And the Five of Wands is telling me that I feel like in general, we are focused on the past too much. Like we're living in the past too much. So, one of the things that I feel like in general for most people that prevents you from being your most authentic self is that you're kind of worried about kicking up some old dust from, from the old days, or maybe kind of just maybe you don't want to feel the things that you felt in the past, or you don't want to, remake some of those mistakes. And really what we need to do is embrace what happens before, today, and accept it for what it is and where it led us and let it go. And so this card, I think, is telling us that we need to put more focus into living in the now and living in today. If we keep getting hung up on the stuff that happened yesterday or last week or last year, we're never going to be able to grow truly and become a newer version of ourselves. And so I think this is a good thing to focus on, because if we're being challenged to be our highest self with the High Priestess, then one of the biggest obstacles is going to be making sure that we're able to grow into a new person and not stay the same, because being stagnant isn't going to get us anywhere higher as far as being our highest spiritual self. And then for an advice card, or a way that we can stay on focused, or kind of make sure we're focusing on the right things, and in this advice that we've already been given, we got the Ten of Wands. And the Ten of Wands is interesting because it's kind of, to me, usually it's always depicted as like a burden. Like you've got 10 wands on your back and you're having to carry them around, I think is usually the traditional imagery. And so normally that's in usually like our professional life, and not necessarily a professional life, but we have so many responsibilities. Those wands all represent responsibilities, and we kind of feel like we're holding the world together. We're out of glue and we're just using our fingertips, and we're holding it together for as long as we can. And so I think, it's really important to get time to yourself, and especially if we're being challenged to live as ourselves, we probably want to make sure that we're taking that time to be something other than our responsibilities. You don't want to get lost in your responsibilities, and at the same time you don't want the world to fall apart either. And sometimes it feels like if you take a break, your world is going to fall apart. You feel like the only one you can count on, or the only one who can do it for you, is you. And so I think this card is telling us to make plans. Like, we need to be able to take time for ourselves, and we don't want the world to fall apart. So what can we do? What plans can we make, or what contingencies or backup plans can we have to make sure that if we do sometimes even just take an hour for ourselves, we know that we can pick up right where we left off, and we don't have to worry about everything coming to like a crashing, burning halt. So I think that this advice is pretty solid. Like, we want to make sure we're living in today, and we want to make sure that we're living true to ourselves, and we're letting go of all that planning, because there's no point in planning any further. And if we're going to stay focused on those aspects, then I think making sure we get a moment to really plan out time for our responsibilities and for ourselves. Definitely with the holidays around the corner, we're planning a bunch of stuff. A lot of us are traveling. A lot of us are going to be seeing people we haven't seen in a while. And you want to make sure you're not getting behind on work, especially if you're going out of town. Like, there's a lot going on, and if you spend too much time focusing on that, you're not going to have a lot of time to focus on the rest of it. And it's kind of like when you take a vacation and you're worried the whole time you're on vacation. It wasn't very restful, was it? So making sure that we have a plan to know that everything is taken care of, so that we actually can sit back and relax and enjoy this time with our friends, enjoy this time with our families, enjoy this time, even if you're just alone, and enjoy this time with yourself, so that you don't have to worry about everything falling apart while you're gone. And then you can come back and get right back into it and be your truest self, and not have to feel like you're wearing a mask, or not feel like you don't have to be not feeling like you can't be honest with yourself and the people around you after the fact, during and before. So I think this is a pretty cool reading. It's really nice, lighthearted, to the point, a lot different from what we got last week, but that's good. I think you guys were a little tired of hearing me talk so much. So, but I really like it. And I think with this week, and if you're in America, Thanksgiving around the corner, and like I said, a lot of traveling, a lot of family, don't feel like you can't be yourself at the dinner table. and don't feel like you can't be yourself with, you know, your aunt or your uncle who might not share your view. And bring who you are to the table with love and with light, and share it with people, and be accepting that not everybody is the same, and you know, you're going to be accepting of their differences in the same way that you hope they will be of yours. And you know, make sure that everything, you know, you've got all your ducks in a row and you've got everything all together in one place, so that you can go and do that, and when you come back you don't have all this added weight and stress on your shoulders for, you know, any responsibilities you might have had to put on the back burner while you took time for yourself. I think it's a pretty good reading that a lot of people should be able to relate to this week. So hopefully it said something that you needed to hear, and hopefully, you know, something came through to you and gave you some good advice. If it did resonate with you, be sure to let us know in the comments. I'd love to hear your feedback, whether it's good or bad. You know, like, again, if it has nothing to do with you and it seems totally crazy and just not your thing, I want to hear that too. So go ahead and leave a comment down below. And again, if you want to catch every weekly reading and any other readings that we might have in the future, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and click that bell so that you get that alert. Otherwise, it will just get lost in the YouTube nonsense. And thank you so much for letting me read for you. Have a great one.